My name is Claire Goldstone. I'm a senior at South Meck. In this video, I'm going to be instructing you on how to properly use clay to make artwork in a South Meck art class. One note before we get started is that you need to make sure that you keep your clay wet at all times. If it gets too dry, it'll start to crack and you won't be able to use it anymore. But if it gets too wet, it'll fall apart and you won't be able to bend it around. Also, whenever you're done with your clay, make sure to clean up with warm water. And when you store your clay, wrap it in a plastic bag and spritz water on it so it stays moist and doesn't dry up. First, we're going to be talking about the different types of clay, the different forms. The first form is slip. Slip is clay that has been thinned down with water. It gets very gooey and is good for cementing clay in place. The second form is plastic clay. This is the clay that you'll be using. Plastic clay is clay that bends without breaking or cracking at the sides. After that is leather hard clay. You might also work with leather hard clay because it comes naturally after plastic. Leather hard is clay that can bend, but it starts to crack at the edges. Next is bone dry or greenware clay. This is clay that has been allowed to dry without being fired in a kiln. A kiln is a hot oven that is used to dry out clay and make it hard and permanent. Clay that has been fired without anything added to it is called bisque clay. Bisque clay is clay that all the moisture has been removed. Clay that has had something added to it, such as glaze, is called glazed clay. This is clay that has been This is clay that has been painted over with a substance to make it watertight. Typically, cups or teapots are glazed. Next is clay working techniques. The first thing you should do when you get a piece of clay is wedge it. Wedging means to compress the clay to eliminate all air bubbles. To wedge, you simply fold the clay in half and then press down. You don't want to press down too hard or else the clay will stick onto whatever surface you're using. The professional standard is to wedge your clay about 20 times. After wedging your clay, you want to turn it into a slab. A slab is a piece of clay that has been evenly flattened. If you don't have a rolling pin or another device to flatten your clay, just using the palm of your hand is fine. Now, there are 3 ways to build a vessel, such as a cup, out of clay. First way is through coiling. Coiling is rolling clay into a coil and placing those coils on top of each other to form a vessel. The way to attach coils to each other is through a method called score and slip. Score and slip is when you take an object such as your nail or a toothbrush, anything that can put grooves into clay, and make dashes on the clay. Next, you apply the slip to the grooves and stick them on top of each other. This way, when the clay dries, it will be cemented together because of the slip. It'll look something like this. And if you don't like how the coils look with the rounded pattern, you can just smooth that out. A second method of creating a vessel out of clay is through pinching. Pinching is creating a vessel by pinching sections of the clay to spread it out and form a shape. Cups or vessels made from pinching are called pinch pots. A third way to make a vessel out of clay is by throwing. Throwing is when you put wet clay on top of a spinning wheel and use the motion from the wheel to pull the clay up and into a form. There are very few spinning wheels at South Mech, so it's highly unlikely that you will be using one. Then, of course, there's always molding it with your hands. With this knowledge in mind, the different forms of clay and the different ways that you can make objects, you are now ready to go off to your art class and create artwork out of mud.